Hello Internet, it's me Josh, the Aging Gamer. So, let's go ahead and get into some good old 90s nostalgia and talk about the franchise that is the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. When I was a kid, it was all about the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I was obsessed with those guys. But then in August of 1993, Fox Kids premiered Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, and my god, this was amazing and was now my new obsession. It was all about Rita Repulsa and her group of misfits trying to take over the world. Zordon, Earth's defender of some sort, needs 5 teens with attitude. But he really just kind of picks out a random group of preppy friends. But they become the Power Rangers. Rita sends evil monsters to Earth to cause mayhem, but once the Power Rangers arrive on scene, Rita's monsters start getting their punk asses kicked. Sometimes the Rangers will even fight in their giant robot called the Megazord. At the time, there was nothing else like this on American television. Live-action superheroes using giant dinosaur mechs to take down space monsters? Hell yeah! So, of course, I was into everything Power Rangers. I watched every episode, collected the toys, had some of the trading cards, had some of the VHSs, comics, coloring books, and just any accessory that had anything to do with the series. And I still have some of my old action figures too. And anyone remember these? I thought it was pretty cool that the helmet could flip on and off, but it did make these toys kind of bulky. And anyone think it was kind of weird that in merchandise like this, the dinosaur emblem would always be on the Power Rangers' chest, even though it was never like that in the show? Same with the Megazord, that would have the mastodon head on its hand, but in the TV show, when the Megazord came out, both hands were normal. That's weird. And there was even a Power Ranger movie. I mean, it was okay, it wasn't anything great, but, you know, my mom took me to go see it in theaters, so thank you, Mom, I appreciate that. And of course, we gotta talk about the Mighty Morphin Power Ranger video games. Me being a Sega kid of the 90s, I only owned that fighting game that was on the console, but one of my friends owned a copy of the Super Nintendo Power Rangers game, and I thought that one was way better. So that's the game I want to review today. But to be honest, I actually already reviewed that game. That was actually the very first video game I ever reviewed for this channel, way on back in November of 2015. If you ask any kid, though, in the early 90s what they were into at the time, there's a pretty good chance they would say something along the lines of Nintendo or Power Rangers. So it must have been pretty mind-blowing when a Mighty Morphin Power Rangers game came out for the Super Nintendo, right? Well, let's take a look. Yeah, that was quite some time ago. Like I mentioned, that was the first video I ever did, and I was a little bit more camera shy. I was kind of brief with my review. It was only like 5 minutes, and I kind of skipped a lot of stuff I wish I would have talked about. So I'm going to try and go ahead and give this another go. So, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, let's talk about the Super Nintendo game that is the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. So it's just a peaceful day in Angel Grove when all of a sudden, oh shit, oh fuck, the city is literally on fire! Ah! So let's pick our character. We got Jason, the Red Ranger, Kimberly, the Pink Ranger, Zach, the Black Ranger, Trini, the Yellow Ranger, and Billy, the Blue Ranger. You get to pick a different ranger after each level, so this gives us the chance to play as them all. Let's go ahead and start with Zach. So, we get warped into the city, and the first thing you'll notice is, hey, I'm not a Power Ranger, I'm just a teenager. I always thought this was neat that you start off in not Ranger form, because it was kind of like the show, where the teens would beat up the Putty Patrol until the Monster of the Week showed up, then they would transform and start kicking ass. Anyway, this game is a side-scrolling beat-em-up with some platforming mixed in. You move using the D-pad, B to jump, Y to punch or kick, and X to use a special attack when available. So, as Zach, oh jeez, they really gave him the racist black eye with big white lips cartoon look, didn't they? As Zack, like his character in the show, he likes to dance, and you'll even see that incorporated in his moveset. We'll battle some putties down the street until we run into our first boss, Bones, from the second episode titled High Five. It's Morphin time! Bones disappears and sends some more putties at us. As an actual Mighty Morphin Power Ranger, you think that would change the game drastically, but it really doesn't. As a Power Ranger, I don't feel like I do more damage, and I still do the same attacks. The only difference is that whatever Ranger you pick will be holding their signature weapon, which in Zack's case is the Power Axe. As we continue fighting more putties, we get to a point where there's some cars that'll explode when you hit them enough, but my god, they take so many hits to fully destroy. It's like playing a bonus round at Street Fighter! At the very end, we fight Bones. He fights with his sword, but if you can keep hitting him before he hits you, the first part of this fight will be easy. Once you beat him up so much, he loses his arms. It kind of reminds me of the scene from Monty Python and the Holy Grail with the Black Knight. Beat him up some more and his head will start floating around. Hit that a few more times and he's done for good. Alright, Area 2. Let's pick Trini. Even though all the Rangers in civilian forms feel the same to play as, at least Trini looks a bit cooler out of costume. She has her Mantis Kung Fu pose, and she does these elegant jumps, and I can easily buy her as a legit fighter. Anyway, in this industrial district area, we'll fight some new putties that carry shields, and we'll also dodge rolling barrels. We'll eventually come across our boss, Gnarly Gnome, from episode 5 titled Different Drum. We follow him into the building where we fight some more bad guys. Trini holds her power daggers while fighting, but she doesn't really feel any different than the Black Ranger. We'll climb and jump around and avoid robots as well as try to avoid burning junk while on a conveyor belt. We'll eventually reach the boss again, and he can be a bit tricky. He teleports all around the stage. You just gotta be fast and hit him as soon as he appears, and hopefully he won't hit you. Your special move is pretty handy here. Press X to hit your Dino Bomb special. All the Rangers have the same kind of special, but with different aesthetics. Hit Gnarly Gnome enough and watch him croak. Now on to the third area. Let's go ahead and pick Billy. And despite Billy being my least favorite Power Ranger of the original team, I think he might be my favorite to play as in the game just based on his fighting sprites alone. In the show, he's depicted as a cowardly fighter, but an impressive super genius. Not sure why he's a coward out of costume, then legit monster-killing badass in Ranger form, but, you know, don't think about that. Anyway, Billy fights like someone who just got in their first fight, punching while covering his head, doing the same as he kicks, and he's got this weird jumping strike that just looks like an attack you expect a 5-year-old to make while on a trampoline. Even his running and ducking pose make him look so non-intimidating. But oddly enough, he's the only character who does anything different when in non-Ranger form. He's got a punching combo attack. Anyway, we're in the sewers here. There's lots of Putty Patrol goons, which outside of a few robots and random spiders, is the only standard enemies you'll fight in this entire game. Once we find the monster Eye Guy, from the 8th episode Eye Guy, we'll transform. The Blue Ranger fights exactly like the others, except he gets an attack where he spins his power lance around. We'll make our way down deeper into the sewers. We reach several areas where we're swimming in some rising and lowering water, or I guess it's really purple sewage. At the end, we get a fight with Eye Guy. He shoots lasers and jumps around, but overall he's not too hard of a boss. Once he's just a single eyeball, hit him a few times to win. Now for Area 4, we'll pick Kimberly. Now when I was a little kid, all the other children said that their favorite Ranger was either Zack or Tommy or Jason, but to be honest, I think my favorite might have been Kimberly. I think it was just, you know, something about her being a lot of young boys' first childhood crush. Anyway, as for Kimberly in-game, There's nothing noteworthy about her other than she's got a ridiculous kick that reminds me of Cyclops' ridiculous kick in Arcade's Revenge. So the 4th level has us in some kind of under construction hotel skyscraper of some sort. There's putties, flying robots, and chandeliers that will try to damage you. Halfway through we'll meet our boss, the Genie, from episode 16, Switching Places. Alright, it's Morphin time! Hey, that's not how the Pink Ranger looks. This is just a palette swap of the others. I mean, I get why they did that with the other Rangers, even Trini, but Kimberly just transformed into a pink buff dude. Nah, whatever. So, the Pink Ranger attacks with her power bow. You can whack enemies with it, or you can press up and attack and actually shoot an arrow. This attack, however, is super weak. I counted, and it took me 15 arrows to kill one freaking putty. Anyway, this part of the level is pretty straightforward. At the end, we fight the Genie. Since the Pink Ranger has some range in her attack thanks to her bow, all you have to do is just be quick and hit the Genie as soon as he appears after teleporting. Pretty easy if you pick Kimberly. Now we're on to the last area, and we're picking Jason. Jason fights just as you would expect, and doesn't do anything different from anyone else. We fight through the caves with some enemies that we've seen throughout the whole game. Halfway through we meet our boss, the Dark Warrior, from episode 15, also called Dark Warrior. We transform and the Red Ranger fights with his power sword. Despite being the leader of the Rangers, he doesn't do anything different from anyone else, and outside of Billy's spinning lance attack and Kimberly's bow and arrow, all the Rangers feel exactly the same. So, throughout the stage, we'll throw some barrels, dodge some barrels, and avoid and destroy a giant laser. We'll eventually reach the Dark Warrior. He might be a little tough to fight, mostly because our last health pickup was a bit earlier in the level. Dark Warrior jumps around the screen. Just avoid where he lands and attack immediately. Now, all the levels are beaten, and we get a pretty cool cutscene with the Power Rangers summoning the Megazord. That's right, we get to play as the Megazord, and rightfully so, the game switches to a fighting genre. We're gonna fight against the monster Mutitis from episodes 28 and 29, Island of Illusion. So we can attack with our sword, and as fighting game rules apply, up is to jump and backwards is to block. X is to use our special attack, but it works a bit differently here. This little power meter here will fill up over time. The longer you wait, the stronger special you can use. You can use a sword slash, fire attack, fireball, or a super strong sword slash. But anyway, the fighting gameplay itself is nothing to brag about. It kind of feels like button mashing works here, and I find being more offensive than defensive gets the job done. Beat up Mutitis and we'll finish him off with a deadly strike. Go to hell! We're now on the moon in front of Rita's home base, and we're gonna go face to face with the final boss of the game, Cyclopsis, from episode 39 and 40 titled Doomsday. He's a bit tougher than Mutitis. Once you beat him up, you go for that final strike, but the fucker transforms. Beat him up again, and... the Rangers celebrate with a car ride. They arrive at Ernie's juice bar, and they watch Zack dance away as the credits roll. Rita Repulsa briefly appears, and some passwords for some two-player Megazord fights flash on the screen. And the game ends. And that's Mighty Morphin Power Rangers for the Super Nintendo. So, how is it? This is a fun little game on the system. It's a bit on the easier side, which there's nothing wrong with that at all. This is a game I like to play from time to time just to unwind and relax. It's fine for what it is. Does it have any faults? Well, not really. I have a few nitpicks though. The gameplay, for example, is a little bare bones to me. It feels like the fighting should be a bit deeper. I almost feel like I'm missing out on some kind of hidden combo system or something, but it really is just punch and kick everything. I'm also a bit disappointed that the game is missing a lot of signature characters, like Zordon, Alpha 5, and Goldar, and the biggest MIA character is the Green Ranger. This game mainly seems to focus around the first couple of episodes of the series, pre-Tommy, but by the time this game actually came out, the Power Rangers TV series was already transitioning the Green Ranger into the White Ranger. But, like I said, those are just nitpicks. The game is fine as is. It's nothing to write home about, but it's definitely a fun, harmless title that'll scratch that nostalgia Power Ranger itch. There's also a sequel to this game, Mighty Morphin Power Rangers the movie. It's very similar, yet very different. But that's a review for another time. Again, this game here, it's a fine game, and probably my favorite out of all the Power Ranger games of this era. But these are just my opinions. What do you guys think? What do you think of Mighty Morphin Power Rangers? Who's your favorite Ranger? What's your favorite Power Ranger video game? Let me know in the comments below. If you like this video, go ahead and give it a like. If you don't like this video, go ahead and dislike it. I don't care. And if you want to see future videos, go ahead and subscribe. I thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.